Now for our roundtable with our News Channel 5 political analyst Brian Crowley. And a note, don't ever go on air shortly after you've had a cavity filled, because they swore the anesthesia would wear off. And it really hasn't. Anyway, but on to more serious matters, Brian. Always good to have you aboard. The abortion debate and abortion politics, again, center stage in Florida last week. President Biden going to Tampa. Governor DeSantis with his own remarks. Let's take a listen.
It was Donald Trump who ripped away the rights and freedom of women in America. It'll be all of us who restore those rights for women in America. And when you do that, we'll teach Donald Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans a valuable lesson. Don't mess with the women of America.
And now he's coming down to try to support a constitutional amendment that will mandate abortion up until the moment of birth, that will eliminate parental consent for minors, and that's written in a way that's intentionally designed to deceive voters.
Conservatives feel that way. I should note that those who worked to get the constitutional amendment on the ballot in Florida this fall to restore, quote, abortion rights, say that 24 weeks, not up to birth. That's a debate that goes on. But we have a constitutional amendment in Florida right now, a 6-week ban. The governor signed into law that's set to take effect. And Democrats at least saying publicly, maybe this could turn the state blue again. Unwrap all that for us.
Well, we're just days away from, this week, where the May 1st new law takes place, which will limit abortion to 6 weeks. Ron DeSantis signed that bill. He kind of doesn't brag about that. I think even he's a little uncomfortable with the 6-week abortion ban, but it's his. He owns it. And I think he tries to deflect that by coming up with the abortion as could happen at birth, which is really not true. But
does it turn the state blue, as Democrats at least publicly will say?
Well, interestingly, last week the Biden campaign...
Or have the potential to, obviously.
Yeah, interestingly, the Biden campaign last week announced that they were going to open a campaign head office in Hillsborough County in the Tampa area, and that was a little surprising because conventional wisdom is the Democrats have no chance in Florida, which has gone red, red, red. There's 1 million more voters on the Republican side than there are Democrats. So we'll see. I think Vice President Kamala Harris is supposed to come to Florida this week. So there's been a lot of recent activity. Whether or not it will continue all the way through to November, we're not sure. But for now, the Democrats are suggesting that Florida's at play.
All right, you old news hound, always at it. This guy never rests, I tell you. He's once a hard-hitting journalist, always. We're going to have a parade to Mar-a-Lago. It seems as the former president looks at potential people to be side by side with him should he win in November.
Yeah,
Take it away.
This coming weekend, May 3rd to 5th, they're having a special event at Mar-a-Lago, and there'll be many donors there, but they've invited potential vice presidential candidates to be there. They'll meet, I think, individually with Trump. Among those going are Tim Scott,
South Carolina,
J.D. Vance of Ohio, and our very own Marco Rubio, which I always find a little astonishing since in the 2016 race, Marco Rubio very vehemently described Donald Trump as a con artist. He spent his entire career sticking it to the little guy. Well, Marco's kind of a little guy himself. Apparently he's gotten over it.
What is the strange alchemy that takes people who seem to frankly hate each other politically, and then suddenly you're on parade? And by the way, a number of people, you could say that across generations of politics, but what is it, Brian?
Well, power is one thing. I think they see themselves, especially as VP, that if they become Donald Trump's vice president, 4 years later, they can run for president. Marco Rubio tried once before, very poorly, but you could see that if he were vice president, or J.D. Vance or any of these folks, they're the likely Republican nominee 4 years later. And they also like to hope that they're going to have some place in history, although I venture to say that if you ask most people to name 10 vice presidents, they couldn't.
They're going to have trouble doing so. Talk, Brian, about, to carry on from the conversation with Palm Beach County State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg as he was analyzing the criminal cases arrayed against the former president. This dichotomy we live in now, where it's weaponization of justice, he's not above the law. You and I talk about it all the time, but it fascinates me where we are in this country right now, where we just have such diametrically opposed views, which is not making judgment about either side of that. But your thoughts?
Well, in my lifetime, had you asked me, should I ever expect that the nominee for either party would be somebody who was also standing a trial and had several other potential trials, I would have thought you were crazy, but here we are. I think part of what I find so fascinating about the Republican Party these days isn't so much that this rallying around Donald Trump, although there's still some weaknesses showing up with that. I think it was the recent Pennsylvania primary last week where Nikki Haley, who's not, running anymore, got, I think it was 16% of the vote. So not all Republicans are in love with Donald Trump. But they had so many alternatives, whether it was Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, down the line, and yet they remained, most of them remained intensely loyal to Donald Trump despite the baggage. I don't entirely get it, but that's where we're at. And interestingly, on Friday, President Biden said that he's willing to debate Donald Trump. Minutes later, Donald Trump did a lengthy tweet saying anytime, anywhere, and suggested that on this past Friday night that Joe Biden show up in New York and debate him that night. And if not then, can we do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Let's debate right away. So
Let the drama begin. Or continue.
So the senior center will have its debate of the two presidential candidates.
And on that note, my friend, we appreciate it as always, and we'll be back with more in a moment.